ChatGPT in its current form is not going to take away that many jobs. But given the progress we've already seen in a few months, and also the number of founders of ChatGPT-based products that are reaching out to me through this channel and beyond, I have a really unique perspective on how I think it's going to play out, and maybe not right now, maybe not in the next 12 months, but I think 2 to 4 years from now, you're gonna see a rapid shift away from a lot of the entry level and other jobs in tech that will be fully or largely automated through AI and ChatGPT. Across different roles, you're gonna see sales, engineering, marketing, and customer success, some of the biggest roles in tech, very impacted. But there's a major hurdle that's preventing technology companies from using this. Some of you may have even seen recently where engineers at Samsung actually got in trouble because they were putting proprietary code into ChatGPT, asking it to revise, asking it to add lines of code to it. And when you're submitting that code through ChatGPT, you're basically giving ChatGPT the right to store that information. And while they may not have an issue with that, they may not do anything malicious with it, it presents a lot of risk that corporate companies are not willing to take right now. And that I think highlights the importance of a drastic shift you're gonna see maybe in 12 to 24 months, where there's going to be some company, whether Microsoft gets there first, whether it's a small startup, that enables you to run a privately held ChatGPT instance. And so what's going to happen, and again, we'll break down more specifically how this impacts sales, engineering, marketing, customer success more directly, but you're gonna see companies shift towards this model where they have a fully private instance of ChatGPT that can ingest all of their company data, whether it's their entire code base, whether it's all of the emails and customer support interactions they've ever had. And what's gonna happen is you're not gonna have this internet-wide ChatGPT enabled functionality. You're gonna have one that's very specific to your company that can privately interact with all of your company's private information and also selectively go out to the internet and look for things like best practices or otherwise. And that's, I think, the biggest shift you're gonna see. Whoever gets it first and can go to a company and say, hey, we can securely go through and use all of your information for ChatGPT, that's when you're rapidly going to see a change. And let's break down how it affects each function. Naturally, let's start with sales. That's where I work. And again, there's always going to be a need for salespeople at the highest levels of enterprise, very complex B2B sales, where we're talking hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of purchases, etc. There's just not going to be a level that you can truly automate, nor do I think companies will ever be at a place where they're fully comfortable doing that fully automatically. But what I do think you're gonna see is, if you've been in sales, or if you can imagine, there's a lot of tools now that track the performance of emails. There's a lot of tools that track which emails are being opened, replied to, etc. And if you can imagine a company now being comfortable putting all of that data into a language model like ChatGPT, now the need for SDRs to create new emails, now the need for your marketing team to create new emails is largely reduced. And again, it doesn't mean that SDRs are going away forever. It doesn't mean that marketing is going away, but you're gonna see a lot accomplished with less headcount. You may see a scenario where ChatGPT is able to actually set up entire tests for you. So SDRs that traditionally had to create their own emails, reach out to prospects, collaborate with marketing, a lot of that can be done automatically, because ChatGPT is not only going to be able to put these emails together for you like it can in its current form, but it's going to be able to reference your private and specific company information. And so now, instead of writing an email that you think is good, it's going to comb through thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of interactions with customers and make a very precise and custom email for everyone that you're emailing. What this means, if you're looking at tech sales, I still think it's a great career to get into, don't get me wrong, but I think you're gonna see a shift where there's less and less SDR roles available as this technology becomes more mature. You may even see someone like an Outreach or a Sales Loft create their own ChatGPT enabled feature that does this because they have so much data they can comb through. But I also think on the flip side, that traditional path of going SDR to an account executive to then promoting up within the different types of account executive roles there are is starting to fade. I don't think you're as commonly going to see an SDR that maybe doesn't have a technical background work their way up to enterprise account executive like 10 years from now. And I think what you'll see is that it's going to have to be someone that comes in from engineering, or someone that started in marketing or customer success, and over time works their way more and more into that sales cycle and direct sales role. And again, as you might imagine on the engineering front, I know there's companies already taking a stab on this, but maybe not enabled with ChatGPT specifically, where if you're an engineer, now your entire company, once again, we get to this state where a company is able to give you your own private instance of ChatGPT. We can now ingest your entire code base and recommend best practices or all of these different things. You may even see a state where ChatGPT is able to take a few prompts from an engineer who wants to create code. It goes ahead and creates its own code, and automatically puts it through some testing that you have. But my point being is, again, much like the sales side, these entry-level engineers, yes, you're always going to need to know how to code. It's much like a calculator, right? Like you can use a calculator, but if you don't know theory, you're only going to get so far. It's very much the same thing with computer science. But I think 5 to 10 years from now, you're gonna see large corporate companies that drastically reduce the number of entry-level software engineers that they bring in because they're able to give it prompts. And you're gonna see traditionally where entry-level engineers oftentimes are troubleshooting, they're fixing things, they're writing code, but it's often heavily scrutinized. It's tested through different testing tools and also passed up to more senior engineers before being pushed to production. A lot of this is going to be automated through ChatGPT. And whereas you maybe had a team of 10 entry-level engineers that are working on a project, you may have 2, and they're heavily leveraging AI to create that code. They're manually verifying it works. They're troubleshooting the outputs, but they're not as directly responsible or expected to come up with the original code itself. As we look at marketing and customer success, yes, of course, ChatGPT can write emails. Of course, it can carry a conversation at a very high level. But again, think about what it unlocks when we get to a point where companies are comfortable having their own private instance of ChatGPT to scan through every email they've ever had. Now marketers don't have to create polls. They can have ChatGPT scan your entire email base and see what most of your prospects are talking about. They can see the most relevant things that customers want to hear about, the most common questions. And now they're going to be able to create content off of that. And I might add, as you can expect, the content that they're now creating can be created largely in ChatGPT and manually revised by a marketer, thus taking a lot less domain expertise and a lot less headcount to accomplish the same thing. And as you might imagine, with customer success as well. Again, if we have every customer success interaction we've ever had in our company's history put into ChatGPT, now these automatic chatbots that we have that are typically a pain to set up, they have a little bit of automation, they have a little bit of learning, but certainly not on the level of ChatGPT. If ChatGPT can carry a conversation from beginning to end and only pull in a customer support or customer success team member, if there's a scenario where it gets very custom or something the algorithm hasn't seen before, what that means long-term is that there's gonna be way less customer success headcount required and a lot more of the day-to-day interactions that can be handled and manually overseen by 1 or 2 people as opposed to a team of 10, a team of 20, right? I don't make this video just to scare everyone and say ChatGPT is gonna take over the world, but again, you need to be prepared and think about the ways that it can impact things. And if you're in a situation where you're breaking into tech, you're in tech already, are there ways that you can learn about ChatGPT to put yourself in a position to be there when the team or when the company makes a broader move to adopt AI and ChatGPT in the workflow? Again, it's not a perfect answer. It's not the most comforting thing in the world, but let's deal with reality, right? If you're early in your career, this doesn't mean that your jobs are gone forever, but I think the traditional paths that you've seen where maybe someone comes in and does IT help desk and then goes to customer support, or where someone comes in as an entry-level SDR and can work their way up to enterprise account executive, or where someone comes in as a junior or associate software engineer and works their way up, I think you're gonna see those lines blurred, and companies are certainly going to take different approaches, but you're gonna see a lot less headcount at that entry level, and it's going to heavily leverage AI based on that company's specific information. How can you get yourself in a position to overcome this and be in that position? I think one, if you're leveraging those tools now and even just learning about them, that's a great step. I still talk to people today that are asking me to revise their email or look over their resume. And yes, it's always great to have an experienced and tenured person do that, but also why not throw it in ChatGPT? And so again, I don't make this video to be all doom and gloom. There's always going to be a need for highly skilled individuals, and this shouldn't be seen as like, hey, don't study software engineering because you're going to be replaced. If you're in a position where you're worried about your job, now it's on you to start understanding ChatGPT. I mean, look, no one knows where this is gonna go, right? We have a decent idea. We know at a high level what it's capable of. But again, if you dive into ChatGPT, if you're looking at forums, if you're looking at cool use cases, other YouTube videos about what it's doing, you're ahead of like 95% of people right out of the gate. And so that's my advice is, again, I don't think you're gonna see a rapid change in adoption of ChatGPT and AI into companies until it can be proven at enterprise scale that it can house company and private information at scale and actually use that information to drive a significant result. And because of the fact that that ability is there, but that security and all of these questions aren't solved yet, that's why I think we're on a delayed fuse of maybe 2 to 4 years where this is really gonna skyrocket at that point. But again, put yourself in that situation, start leveraging the technology and don't shy away from it, because in reality, while we don't exactly know how it's going to implement and take away jobs as we know them today, It's definitely going to create numerous different opportunities. And if you stay on the front end of that, I think you'll be in an incredible position. But I hope you got a lot out of this video. And if you have a differing opinion or unique insights, I would love to hear it in the comments below. But I appreciate the time, and we'll see you in our next video. Thanks.